Have you not seen the body of a marathon runner? Skinny, hardly any muscle. In comparison, look at the physiques of those who lift weights. And so if your goal is to build muscle and you run, well, say goodbye to all your gains. Only that is a myth. Coach Greg, running and lifting weights. Blasphemy! Who in the right mind would do it? If you want to build an impressive physique and you're running, well, you can't do it. After all, have you not seen the body of a marathon runner? Skinny, hardly any muscle. In comparison, look at the physiques of those who lift weights. And so if your goal is to build muscle and you run, well, say goodbye to all your gains. Only that is a myth. And in today's video, I'm going to be responding to Alan Thrall, who made a video saying, running and lifting weights, you can do both. But being a channel that calls out the BS, I'm going to be honest. I'm going to explain exactly under what circumstance you can do both and not build muscle, and also under what circumstances you can't. And so in today's video, you're going to learn what kind of running you can do, how long can you do it, how hard can you do it, what circumstances will you lose muscle, and what circumstances will you in fact gain muscle?
You can lift weights every day for the rest of your life and never look like this, not even close. Well, the same goes for runners. You could run every day and still never look like this guy.
Exactly. It really boils down to your genetics. If you have a lot of fast twitch fibers and you run all the time, you're still not going to look like a marathon runner. And to the opposite extent, if you have mostly slow twitch fibers and all you do is lift weights, well, you're never going to make it to the Olympia stage, now are you? And so speaking from experience, I did triathlon training for 13 years. Started competing my first competition at the age of 13, did it all the way out every single year till I was 26. I combined swimming, cycling, and running while lifting weights all at the same time. And during this process, I made gains both in size and strength every single year. Not only that, I won national titles in both bodybuilding and powerlifting while also setting national records and competing in triathlons all at the same time. I wasn't quite as good as at triathlons, was able to get third place at the provincial level. In comparison, was winning national titles in the other two. But you can see clearly you can improve at both at the same time if you really want to. And I'm not saying this to brag, I'm saying it because obviously if I could do it, then you can do it. And so don't think that if you start lifting weights and doing cardio that you won't be able to build any muscle. That if you start jogging, it's going to tear away at all the muscle on your body. It's going to make it harder to build muscle, of course. But I'm not going to lie to you, it's going to slow down the rate of muscle building. You will not build as much muscle as quickly if you're doing a shit ton of cardio running every single day as if you were not.
Lifters also have this silly belief that running is just too stressful on the joints.
And so here's the thing, a lot of people say, well, running it's hard on your joints. Well, so is powerlifting. So is lifting weights. You don't think doing set after set of squats and deadlifts and lifting heavier than last time is going to damage your joints? Of course it will. And to the same extent, so is running. Both can be hard on the joints if you overdo it. Clearly, if you're running 100 miles, it's going to be excessively difficult to build muscle. But to the same extent, what if you're training 5 hours a day in the gym every single day? You're going to overtrain.
Stop demonizing exercise and stop making up absolute claims about the harms of activity. That's all this really is.
Exactly. And so no matter what you do, it's physical activity. Whether it's running, swimming, cycling, elliptical, skiing, going to the gym, squatting, bench pressing, it's all movement. And the more movement you do, the more demands it places on the body. And so if all you do is lift weights and you suddenly start running 10 miles a day, then of course you're going to lose muscle. It's too much activity, movement. You can't recover and repair by suddenly doing so much. When you first start jogging, you have to go easy. Ease into it. Progressive overload. And so long as you do it slow enough and it doesn't make you sore, you can of course do this cardio, lift the weights, and recover and repair.
Now you certainly don't have to run. You can swim, ride a bike, row, or do some other form of lower intensity cardio. But if you want to run and continue lifting weights, do it.
Now, if you're an advanced trainer and you have a ton of muscle and you suddenly start running, it most certainly is going to diminish your ability to add muscle. Probably going to lose some. But if you're a complete newbie, first time in the gym, and you start running, you will most likely add muscle. Because remember this, Any form of activity, movement, is going to signal the body to repair and recover. And so if you're a couch potato and you go outside and start jogging, walking, going up and down hills, the legs are thinking, what are you doing? Well, if you're going to keep running, we better build and get bigger and stronger in order to allow you to do that again. Now, of all forms of cardio, running is perhaps the most detrimental in terms of your ability to add muscle. Why? Because there is a large eccentric load on the muscle. With every step you take, you're quite literally leaping into the air and landing on one leg. If you're 200 pounds, you jump in the air and land, perhaps there's 400 or 500 pounds landing every single time. That is a lot of wear and tear on the body, and so the eccentric load being so great is going to cause the body to get sore. In comparison, other forms of cardio have less eccentric load. For example, when I ride a bike, I'm not pounding my knees. It's a smooth circular motion which I can handle, and it allows me to do this without getting terribly sore. I can go and race a bike for over an hour, not really get that sore. And so if you want to do both running and lifting weights, you most certainly can. But if you want to maximize muscle hypertrophy, build the most amount of muscle that you possibly can, it would be more advisable to choose a form of cardio with less weight bearing, less strain on the body. And so for me, I choose cycling. It allows me to go for longer periods of cardio without hurting me in the gym. Been doing this for years, literally been racing bikes again for 4 years, doing hard cardio. And do I look like a marathon runner? And of course, yes, I'm on HRT, 140 milligrams a week. But I certainly don't think that if someone were to start cycling and doing weights at the same time, that their muscles are simply going to melt away. I've seen cyclists who are 100% natural with much larger quads than Coach Greg, and larger than even many professional bodybuilders.
The interference effect is a reduction in the rate of your strength and hypertrophy gains when adding endurance training to a resistance program. Is this something you should be afraid of?
And so he brings up the interference effect, and I 100% agree. And so the further you've gone in your training, the more muscle you have, the greater this effect is going to be. However, to the opposite extent, if you're a complete newbie, the interference effect, it's not really going to hinder your gains. Remember, doing cardio, that is a stimulus to build muscle. And so if you start running, biking, and so on, and lifting weights at the same time, you're going to get the benefits of both. Federal activity guidelines recommend that adults do at least 150 minutes of aerobic exercise per week, plus muscle strengthening exercises 2 or more days per week. And as far as longevity and health is concerned, if you want the biggest bang for your buck, the lowest risks were associated with those that do both. And so if you want to be the most healthy, live the longest, have the fewest amount of diseases, you should be doing both cardio and lifting weights.
There is no significant interference effect for untrained subjects, nor is there any interference effect when trained subjects split their endurance and resistance training into separate sessions.
And so the key thing to remember is what you need to do to optimize both is to split them apart. If you go and do a 5-mile run and then lift weights right after, or lift weights and then go for a 5-mile run, it's too much. It's overtraining. And so the advice is to split out your workouts. And so what do I do? Well, for example, today I'm racing bikes 43 kilometers. Yesterday, what did I do? Full body workout. And so if you separate that hard cardio session from the weights that you're doing, you can benefit more so from both. And trust me, if you see what I look like after racing 43 kilometers, if I went to the gym and tried to work out after, it ain't happening. Would have no energy. It would obviously be a detriment to my ability to build muscle.
I doubt that many of you were doing 10 squats, running a half mile, then immediately doing another 10 squats. So this is probably nothing to worry about.
Exactly.
The interference effect can be minimized. Now, if you go and do aerobic training a couple times per week for 30 minutes or less, it's probably not going to have a big effect on your strength.
And so the key really is don't overdo it. Ease into it. If you're just lifting weights right now, not doing any cardio, don't start out by running 30 minutes every single day. It's too much. It most certainly is going to hurt your gains. But if you start out with a fast walk, perhaps jog a little bit, and you do it sparingly away from your weightlifting workout, it's not going to diminish your gains. But don't get carried away. Don't start thinking that you can train for a marathon like Nick Bear and have all that muscle while doing 10 to 30 hours of cardio a week. Eventually, you'll overtrain and you will, in fact, lose muscle.
If you're out there and you're trying to train for a marathon while also trying to get bigger and stronger, you will improve cardiovascular fitness and you will improve strength and muscle growth. But that strength and muscle growth will be attenuated.
And so if you had a set of twins and all one did was lift weights, and the other one lifted weights and did a little bit of cardio, they're going to have about the same amount of muscle. But if one lifts weights and the other trains for marathons, going crazy, doing 20-mile runs, then absolutely the guy doing all that running is going to have smaller gains. But if you want to have the best of both worlds, you can. Not quite as much as either or. You're not going to look like Phil Heath or Chris Bumstead, but you're also not going to look like a guy who can run a marathon in close to 2 hours. And so if you do both, you can get approximately 80% of the gains of either or. And to me, that is great. Is it not worth it to sacrifice a couple extra pounds, to live on this earth longer, to have better cardiovascular endurance, to feel better about yourself?
Like adding anything new, start small, light, and slow. Do something at or below what you can tolerate, and very slowly add intensity or volume.
And so in my own personal experience, when I started bike riding, I only rode 15 minutes at a slow pace. And what I noticed is my legs were sore. And what I did was gradually over time, when I got used to it, I added in a little bit more time. I never went harder, I just went longer. Pretty soon I was doing 30 and 45-minute rides with the same intensity as used for 15 minutes. I was becoming more fit, becoming a better butter burner. And once you get used to that and you can ride for an extended period of time and you're not sore, then at that time, well, go harder. See how much further you can go. And not all at once, just a little bit harder. It doesn't take much for your body to adapt. If you give it a little bit more incentive to grow, to become more fit, it's going to.
When I started running, I was very active and I spent a lot of time on my feet every day. I averaged 20,000 steps per day.
Now consider this, he added in 1.5 miles of running a day, but all he did was convert some of those steps he was doing into running steps. The guy was doing 20,000 steps a day. That is a lot. But if you're a sedentary individual, perhaps only doing 3,000 to 5,000 steps a day, don't start by jogging 1.5 miles. That's way too much, way too hard. Perhaps just start by walking more. Just go for a walk. Brisk walk down the road. All you need to do is be more active and your body will get used to that. Eventually, you can then add in some jogging. And if you're really truly scared about losing your muscle, perhaps you're a competitive bodybuilder and you just can't take that risk. Everyone else, you should be able to try. If you are that worried, well, try cycling the elliptical stepper incline walk. Take away the running, the pounding, that eccentric load, and there is no reason you can't perform cardio. Look at the most built jack guys in the world. Almost all of them are doing hours and hours of cardio a week. They're doing it to burn fat, to get shredded for the Olympia, but they choose to do cardio because they know it's not going to tear down all their muscles. And so not only is it not bad to do cardio, it's good. It's literally going to help you to recover and allow you to train harder than last time.
Maybe running helps you lose some weight by being more active. Personally, I think that that's more important than whether or not your squat is 275 pounds or 295 pounds.
And so Alan Thrall is simply encouraging you to get out there and doing cardio. I love guys who promote cardio because all too often fitness YouTubers are saying, you can't run. If you go and do cardio, you lose all your gains. Or I lost all this weight with no cardio, as if cardio is bad. Love guys that promote cardio, that encourage you to do it. And so please go check out his video, check out Alan Thrall. Guys encouraging you to lift weights, do cardio. This is a great message. Also, 150 minutes of cardio a week. Try to lift your entire body twice a week. If you can do that, well, you've got it made. Hope you enjoyed the video. Ending it here. Looking for harder than last time supplements, including the new Seco Bar back in stock. 10% off. Use code Greg. Also, the cookbooks, the training books, the Circle Diet book over there. Subscribe, click the bell button, comment for the algorithm, watch the bloops. Greg Doucette, IPB Pro on Instagram. And until next time, I am out.